Hello everyone. I will be showing you how you can implement a flutterwave version 3 payment system into your PHP project. So I'll be taking you through the documentation where I'm going to guide you how you can easily implement this gateway into your system. We'll be making use of the flutterwave standard. The flutterwave standard documentation here, it asks us to send the URL request to this endpoint and asks us to send all these posts. Some of these posts we'll be taking them one after the other. So first thing I have to do is I will go to my Visual Studio Code. I already created a little form out here which I can easily take a payment informations. So this is my form I created and this is the code. So I'll just take the email and the amount is trying to pay, then the submit button. Then in the pay where I'm sending this form to, I'm sending the form to pay.php, and this pay.php I was able to retrieve the request I'm getting from the form right here. So I can easily make use of them. This is where we are going to be calling our flutterwave payment system. So the next thing is to collect the payment gateway. So in this below code, I was able to grab all these requests one after the other here. If you check, I was able to get this TXF record, then the amount, the currency symbol. So the TXF record should be unique and I'm using time. Then the next thing is amount. The amount is coming from the form. The currency is NGN. Then the payment option is card. It asks us to use the payment option. The payment options which can be card or bank, anyone. Then the payment plan, we don't need payment plan. The direct URL is when the payment has been completed. We are going to direct the URL. So the direct URL is process.php. This is where I'm going to check transaction. So the direct URL is went.php. Then the customer's informations. So the customers, it asks us to get the email. The phone number is optional. Then the name, which I'm literally getting right here. I get the email coming from the form. Then the name is a custom name I just input myself. The meta tag is the additional information you want to send to the payment. It is used for sending hidden data which you can easily use afterward. So I'm sending the product price in here. I will show you how you can use its meta tag information. Then the customizations is the title. I made a mistake here. It should be the title. It should be the title. The title. Because this can be your company name. Then the descriptions. The descriptions of the payment informations. If you want how you gonna describe the payment information, so I input a sample word. In here. So we are done collecting the payment in an array function. The next thing is to send it to flutterwave endpoint. So I have prepared a query request here, which I'm gonna grab it. I prepare a query request, so I'm going to grab this request. Point. Right. So excuse me. The next thing on our CURL is the flutterwave endpoint, and this is our endpoint here. It asks us to send a payment request to this endpoint. I'm going to copy this URL. Then I copy this URL. Then I replace it with this. And our method should be post. The post and the field is the request we are actually preparing right here. So we have to convert this into a JSON. We convert this array into a JSON. How are we going to do that? So we're going to use the PHP built-in function to convert that request into a JSON. So I'm going to say JSON encode and variable request. The request, the array we are actually processing here, all this will be converted into JSON. Then our authentication barrier, this should be our secret key. I have my secret key here, your secret key. So I will try to copy that. Then I will replace it. I'm going to replace it with this. Then the content type of application and then JSON. Then execute this URL, close it. If you are going to try to test this and actually see what you are getting, so I'm gonna make this JSON a very pretty. I'm gonna print it a very pretty. So I go print. So my JSON can be in a readable format. Okay, if you try to send this, we'll be getting some JSON response. If you are getting JSON response, then we are able to call the flutterwave endpoint successfully. So let's try that. I'm going to refresh my browser. Then I'm going to input my email. Then I'm going to send 1,000 naira. Then I click on send. What do I get? Okay, let's see. The status is success. Then the message is hosted link, and the link is this. This is where we are actually redirecting our user to. This is the link, payment link. If you try to copy this into a browser, then paste it right here, you will notice that a payment page is going to be opening. So we're trying to open a payment page. Can you see that? So after we have called our endpoint, we need to redirect to this link to make the user complete payment. So this is the payment page. This is where we are going to redirect the user. Actually, our code right here is successfully working. The next thing is to extract this payment page out. So we have to extract this payment page out and redirect the user to it. But before we're going to do that, we're going to check if the status is success. Then we extract this payment page and redirect our user to make payment. So the next thing is we're gonna say, so I'm gonna say variable res is equals to JSON and decode. Am I decoding? I'm decoding the response. Okay. So if variable res an array, if variable response array status, let me just use a normal coding. So it's gonna be the status. If variable res array status is equals to what do we got? If variable res and status is equals to success. Okay. If response and status is equals to success, that means our API call was successfully. Then we need to redirect the user to this link so that they can make payment. Then we are going to use variable link is equals to variable res, and then the data should be something data and the link. Okay, should be data, then the link, then header. Okay, so header, then the location should be what? Variable link. Perfect. Else we can just echo a negative word. We say echo we cannot process your payment. Good stuff. So let's try this again and let's see what is happening into our end. So I'm going to return back. I have to refresh this. Then I try again. And I'm going to send 1,000. Then what do I got? Alright, as you can see, we're able to redirect the user to the payment page. This is where they are going to make the payment. So one thing I want to show you is that if a user is to cancel this payment page, you still actually go to this process.php. This is where we have to check the status of our request when it's coming back from the flutterwave page. So let me try that. If I try to cancel this payment page, then where did it go to? It went to localhost and it went to process.php, which is actually this page, but it's actually showing the sample of cancel. Is always on the status is equals to cancel. So and we say if, so I'm gonna call the PHP here. I will say if set is equal to super global get. Super global get, what am I going to get? So I'm gonna get this status. Is equal to global, we will get that status. Then I say status. Then okay, so it's going to do something. Then let's check payment status. So if set super global get, and then status is equals to, if you say super global get, and okay, sorry, I made a mistake. Then okay, I'm gonna say variable status. Sorry, if get, then the status is equals to cancel. If you can see in the URL, it shows the signs of cancel here. That means the payment was cancelled by the user. So you have to check if the payment is cancelled. Then if the payment is cancelled, you have to fall back the user and let's say echo you cancel this payment. You cancel this payment, or we should just return the user back to this actual index page so you can make the payment again. Let's do that. So I can just return the user. I can say header, then I will say location. I can say location, then I will say you should go back to index. Header location, just go back to the index. Then I'm going to see index.php. Perfect. If I try to refresh, I will undefined index and status, which will be a status. Okay, status, so should be index is a set equals to background. They will get this should be status. So I will just try to copy that, and I'm gonna replace it. I'm gonna replace this here. I don't know why I made the mistake. Okay, this should be get, not post. This should be get, not post. So I'm going to try that. Oh, sorry. We are actually using a folder. We're actually using a folder here. So we just go to, let's go back to index. You just have to go back to index. Alright, so I'm gonna send this again. You just have to return back to this index.php. So I'm going to try to cancel that. Then we are coming back to our index.php. That means the payment has been cancelled. Okay, now let's try get another payment status again. The payment is successful. So in this stage, I'm going to complete this payment. Then I'm gonna send that. While this page is loading, I'll just get the rough test cards. So I just get my rough test card. You can use it after you to make payments and process payments here. So we are going to use this card. I'm gonna copy this card. Then I paste it in. Then the validity should be, the file date should be 0932 and 0932, and the code should be 564. Okay, should be 564. Then I set it up. Then our password should be 3310. 3310. Oh, I have a very slow network on my side. I don't know what's happening today. So I'm going to click OK. Then the password is 12345. All right, so 12345. I've been testing that before. Okay, now you can see our status change to successful. I'm able to get the transaction ref and the transaction ID. That means our status was successful, not cancelled. Now we can now go ahead and verify this transaction. We have to verify this transaction. Then if the status is got to cancel, else if, okay, let's use else if variable get, and then the status is equals to what? The status is equals to what? If the status is equals to success, that means the transaction was respond with a successful transaction. Then we can now go ahead and continue processing the payment. So the next thing is to validate. Let's try and validate this payment. Don't just give item in this page. We need to actually validate this payment. Raf or something like that. He asks us by verifying transaction. It's a transaction verification, so we have to call this endpoint again and actually check that. It asks us to actually validate this transaction. We can even check the PHP code. It says you should send a query request to this endpoint, then validate the transaction. So I'm going to grab this code. I'm going to grab this code for verification. Then I will send a query request here. All right, here I've already put the endpoint for our endpoint is the transaction ID. The transaction ID is 1234. That means the transaction ID, this ID here, transaction ID, which is the number here. So we have to be getting that. And we're going to get that in our code. So I'll say variable txid is equals to get. So I have to get the transaction ID. Then I'm going to get the transaction ID. Okay, I'm going to copy that. Then I pass it into my index. So we are now getting a transaction ID, which we can easily utilize into the code. We can replace it with the transaction ID. So I'm going to say variable txid. Now we are applying transaction ID for it. Have to verify. So the authentication parameter is our secret key. We have used the secret key here, so I'm going to get that. Actually get my secret key. I'm going to replace it with this code here. So my secret key. Okay. So now is to echo out the response. So we can actually see the information we're sending. So again, I am going to echo it in a pretty print. So I can easily read that. Then echo pretty. It will return in JSON. It's going to come back in JSON. Okay. So echo. Okay, let me search what we are getting here. All right, there's an error. Undefined variable, say URL. Oh, okay. We did not call our URL. Then we can just say there's a sample code missing. I want to say we will say URL is equal to say URL init. URL init. So I'm gonna try to refresh the page. Okay, perfect. So you can see we are verifying the transaction successfully, and the Rav is telling us that the transaction has been received. Then don't ignore, just ignore this first line. Is to tell you that the request was sent success, Then the transaction was fetched successful, though the transaction price is 1000 and the currency is NGN. Then the charge amount is where we are going to come down. The actual charge is equal to the actual amount we want the users to pay. This is, in this case, we saw something called meta and the price is 1000. Then the next thing is to check if this actual amount that we are storing in this process, we store the meta in this, so that I told you that time we are going to use it to compare the price of the amount we receive and the amount the user paid. So this is where we're going to compare this price and the charge amount. If this charge amount is greater than or equal to this price, then you can continue and give item. The next thing is to break this down into an array, so we can easily use it in our PHP. So how are we going to do that? It's still the same as what we do up above. So I'm gonna break into the JSON. Then I'll now say variable res is equals to JSON and the code variable response. Okay, so let's check if the CURL request was successful. Then I'm going to say if variable res and the status. Am I getting the status form? I'm trying to fetch this request status. So if the request and status is equals to success. Okay, so if the request and status is equals to success, then we're gonna proceed with the checking, or else they just echo cannot process payment. Okay, alright, then we are going to break into these data. Then we are going to make use of all the property to actually use what we are getting. Then in this case, we have to check for the actual amount. You can say the process response was successful, but ignore that. We want to check if this amount is actually the same as this amount. Then I'm gonna create a variable. I'm gonna say amount paid. Amount paid is equals to variable response. Then my variable response, we go into the data. Then inside the data, you have to go into the charge amount. That's it. I'm actually getting the amount the user paid. You can continue storing this into the database. Then amount to pay. Amount to pay is the amount we are storing from the meta. So it should be request able response, then the data. Then inside the data, I'm actually locating this meta, and then what the meta, I'm actually finding the price is in this price here. We said that we want to process the payment, so this is the price. Now the next thing is to check if this amount is greater than or equal to this amount. So if variable amount paid is greater than or equals to variable amount to pay, then that means the customer paid the actual amount we are expecting. Then echo payment successful. Otherwise, that means if the amount is greater than or less than, that's somehow a fraud transaction. So we're gonna say echo fraud. Let's say fraud transaction detected. Fraud transaction detected. Mistake on that. Fraud transaction detected. So I'm going to try to refresh this page, and what do I got? Okay, payment successful. That means the amount we name our price is the amount the user pays. So in this process, you can now continue to give item. Continue to give item to the user. Well, that's it. We have integrated the payment system. Then continue to give item to the user. Then we are able to collect payments send payment to the flutterwave, then validate and verify the transaction. So it's as simple as that. I'm going to leave the source code in the website where you can easily get that. Then that's it. As simple as that. It's just how many minutes. So you're able to integrate a full payment system. If you want to find more and interact more, then you can also check the request. You can store all these transactions into database. If you're actually looking to make a returning payment, to auto charge the card using a tokenized payment, you can actually make use of this payment. Then the user will not need to be inputting the card anymore. You can make a payment to make a continuous payment. That's why this token, there's a process called tokenized payment. You can check the documentation for that. So thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you next time.